I know you heard me on the radio. Flexing, she loved the sound of my voice, it's the best thing. Daydreaming of the jazz all day. Pick up the phone late night with Larry K. I know you heard me on the radio. Flexing, she loved the sound of my voice, it's the best thing. Daydreaming of the jazz all day. Pick up the phone late night with Larry K.
Scarlet Faithful, welcome to another edition of Night Watches podcast. Hope you enjoyed my post-rack, post-Jersey Mike's little rant outside the arena last night. It was a great night, a big step up for Rutgers men's basketball. This is what they needed after a late game collapse against Miami on Wednesday, and then their other struggles against Temple. It was nice to see them once again and consistently, as has been the case all season, the Scarlet Knights take care of business at home. It's what they do. It needs to happen, especially if there's going to be struggles on the road. That being said, we're all hoping that they get their stuff together on the road. This team has a ton of potential, and I think the potential that this team has is actually even higher, a ceiling than we even realized last night, and there's a very specific reason for that. Last night you saw a lot of people playing important roles, putting up points, getting assists, doing some of the nitty-gritty work that was needed, and they weren't necessarily the people that you would expect. Once again, Cam Spencer had a quiet night. He only 3 points, 1 rebound, 2 assists. Cliff Amore only 6 points. So imagine if you can get Cliff and you can get Cam going, what this team could be doing, the type of points they could be putting up, the type of flow they could get into. It could be a big thing. I think it's interesting to see that Cam is handling the ball so much, and so often he's at point where he's handling the ball at the top, and rather than being on the side trying to create a shot or get a shot created, he's handling the ball from the top. I would have thought that would be Paul's position, Cam off ball to get some open shots. I think that is the plan going forward. Obviously, Paul, it was great to see him, and I think there was a real turning point in the energy in the game when Paul Mulcahy came in. I was in the arena. It was loud, and the energy when Paul came in was huge, because I don't know that everybody knew he was playing, because when we're out there, going to the Winter Village or whatever we're doing, which, by the way, the Winter Village outside the arena, very nice. I recommend, especially for people with families and things. But Paul comes in, and yet you still have a lot of Caleb handling the ball. You have Cam handling the ball. You have Derek Simpson handling the ball. I think going forward, Cam Spencer's got to be off the ball. Now, you saw this game that when he pulled the trigger and made his three, it was the only three he made. He missed the first shot, but then he was able to, somebody got the board. He was able to reset and make a second shot. There were other times where I thought he could take a shot. He could pull the trigger, but he chose not to. Fairly often, actually. And I think with time, that'll get better. I don't think he's used to the closeout speed of some of these teams that we're going up against, but it doesn't mean that he can't get a shot off. There were several times I was sitting right there watching where he just wasn't used to the speed, but he did have that time to get a shot off. And you hope going forward that he starts getting shots off and making them, because if he can do that, we are definitely going to be trouble for a lot of teams. Same with Cliff Amore. If he can start posting down low and making them pay, we'll have a good season as well. The thing that's interesting is teams are double and triple teaming Cliff in the post. As soon as he gets the ball, if he tries to put on the floor at all, if he tries to turn, they're picking his pocket, they're doing all these things. And this has been a trend even with some of the early games we had at home against lower tier competition. This has been a trend, this crowd Cliff, triple team Cliff, because I believe teams don't think, and until we prove otherwise, are playing us as if we don't have an outside shooting threat. We don't have this other guy on the outside who's going to drive into the paint and get points, i.e. we don't have Gio and we don't have Ron anymore. So they're going to play us that way until we give them a reason not to, and one of the ways we can do that, which we saw last night, was Derek Simpson. If Derek Simpson gets going, 14 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist. Simpson was just absolutely, and we said this, right? We said this, we saw this, and we saw signs of this from early in the season. This kid just has the it factor. He just does. He rises and wakes up when the lights come on. He's a baller. And it's going to be a matter of time for him to hone his game and especially his decision-making. Sometimes he pulls the trigger or does something, and you're like, oh, you should just wait a little bit. But towards the second half, you can see Simpson's development right before our eyes, because as the second half progressed, you saw him start to be smarter with his shot selection, take drives when he needed to, take shots when he needed to. And quite frankly, he kind of put the team on his back in a way. The way he brought the energy and hit, a nice stretch of points when we really needed him, and he did it in a myriad of ways. Driving with beautiful, floater layup, a nice three-point shot, and that clutch jumper after making that move and juking that kid out of his shoes. I mean, if you're looking at the future, and we're talking about this season, but a kid like Simpson, and you got Gavin Griffiths coming in, is no joke. And don't forget, we had a couple recruits in the building last night. The Dylan Harper chants were loud and clear. Hopefully that goes a long way in getting us where we want to go. So Cliff got into foul trouble early, which, we didn't love the calls in the arena. It is what it is, but we're going to have to deal with this. Cliff's going to have to play very, very smart early in games, because if refs want to give them ticky-tack fouls, we're going to lose them. And so we were without Cliff for much of the first half. But it's interesting because when we were without Cliff, Dean Reber comes in, and he plays some solid minutes. And it was interesting because this season thus far, up to this point, you saw Woolfolk getting minutes, and he got minutes this game. But Reber took the lion's share of the minutes this week when Cliff had to get a breather or Cliff was in foul trouble. And Reber did quite well on defense. So we were doubling Trace Jackson-Davis whenever he got the ball and crashing in on him pretty well. Held him to 13 points, still 10 rebounds, 2 assists. So not a slouch of a game by Trace Jackson-Davis, but he didn't kill us the way you suspected he might kill us. And that was a good sign. The defense, the guys were up to the task. Dean Reber was up to the task, and the other guys down there were up to the task. Reber played 12 minutes. Woolfolk only played 8. Mulcahy 24, Simpson 26, Spencer 17. So you see, when Spencer was struggling, we took him out. Spencer wasn't on the floor for a good portion of the second half either. We had Paul playing and Simpson. And that bodes well for the future, but you hope you get a Cam Spencer able to start hitting threes and knocking them down and doing what he can do. But he's got to adjust to the speed of these games that we're playing. I think he will. Andre Hyatt, 25 minutes, 11 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. If Hyatt can just refine his game just a bit, and it goes to really the same thing I talked about with Simpson, if he can just be a little bit more selective with his shots, with when he drives, with what he does, when he takes a three, he can be much more effective, because he's effective when he's effective when the ball goes in, and when the ball doesn't go in, he's not effective, and the ball doesn't go in sometimes for long stretches. If he and Simpson can refine their shot selection and make the right decisions, we could see them being just very, very effective. You saw that with Simpson. But the lineup, you had Mag, Hyatt, Amori, McConnell, Spencer, Simpson, Mulcahy, Reber, Woolfolk. That was it. So the lineup, as expected, a little more condensed as we get into Big Ten play, as we get into bigger games like that. The lineup a little more condensed. It just makes a huge difference to have Paul and Caleb on the floor. And Caleb, 16 points, 10 rebounds. 10 rebounds, 16 points. Double-double. So, Caleb, as I predicted, is going to be this year more effective on offense. That's what I thought. He was effective on offense when he was young. He kind of went away from it. He struggled a bit, honed his defensive skills. His defense is all still there. You can see it evidently. His hustle is still there. His size is still a huge advantage with those 10 rebounds. But he hit some wide open threes. He hit some other big shots. He had the dunk. He had other shots in the lane. Caleb is going to be an offensive role player this year. So it's not like he's just a defensive specialist. He's going to help, and he can help. And you see already how much better this team looks with Paul and Caleb playing. Now, I still don't think we've necessarily gotten to the game we want to play, i.e. using Cliff more in the post, getting him going a little bit better, and getting Cam Spencer going on the perimeter. And I know I keep harping on those two names, and especially Spencer, but it's because the potential there. with these other guys, with McConnell playing an offensive role, with Simpson coming on the way he is. You know, these are, and Mawot Mag, man, 7 points, 9 rebounds, no assists, 32 minutes. 32 minutes. He played only person that played more than him was Caleb McConnell. And Mag is that guy who's going to do a lot of things that don't necessarily show up on the stat sheet. But again, he's somebody. And here's a theme I'm seeing right now, to be honest with you. A theme I'm seeing is as the season goes on, players are starting to find their roles. Players are starting to be selective with what they do because they're understanding the role that they play on the team. And Mawot Mag, you saw, again, a much more disciplined game, a lot of hustle, a lot of good defense, and then hit some shots when we needed them too for 7 points. So this is going to happen, and every game's a different story, right? Every game there's going to be a different lineup, a different guys that step up. But if we can get some of these guys going, who haven't been going yet, in addition to the guys we've seen play the way they are already, like Derek Simpson and McConnell, we are going to be in for a very competitive season. One more thing I'll say is this, and people don't like to talk about this because they want to say the Big Ten's the best in conference in basketball and this and that. And the fact is, and this is evident when we get to tournament play, the Big Ten is not the quickest, most athletic conference in basketball. It's just not. And so you see where we had struggled earlier in the season against lower-end competition and against Miami, some other teams, in interior defense, and we struggled with guys getting in the lane, getting in the paint, making us pay. You saw it a little early on with Cliff's 2 fouls, although they weren't really necessarily results of that type of play. But you saw guys hitting shots from the perimeter on Indiana. You saw them feeding the post with Trace Jackson Davis. What you didn't see a whole heck of a lot of was a lot of moves to get into the paint and driving to the rim and things like that, which is where we struggle more. And it's going to be interesting to see as we play more of our out-of-conference schedule and as we get into tournament time if we can maintain this level of defense. But the good news is, I think against the Big Ten and in the Big Ten, we are a very formidable team because the way we play defense matches up well to the conference. And that's how you build your team. So can you fault Pikel? Can you fault anybody? No. That's how the team's built. We held Indiana to 48 points. That's a top 10 team held to 48 points. I believe the statistic on that was that hasn't happened since 1983, period. 63-48. The Knights win it. So we're 6-2. Indiana 7-1. It's a huge win. It's a season, I don't want to say defining because it's not. It's like a season jump-off point. It's going to define some of the trajectory of the season. It's something we needed a lot. And you see these guys stepping up and you see these guys playing the way they are. It bodes well for the future. Now, if Dean Reber could hit some threes to go with his defense, if Cliff could get going in the paint, if Paul gets back to full strength and starts getting some points and some assists, 6 points, 4 assists. See, 4 assists already, 2 rebounds. Paul is a big, big difference. And later in the game, too, I don't know if you realize, when we needed to use the clock and we needed to play smart, you saw the ball going into Paul's hands. And every time it got into Paul's hands, I just felt comfortable. I felt calm. I knew he knew what to do with the ball. And he has a lot of weapons to use, especially with now, Simpson coming on and these other guys coming on. So Simpson's just a revelation. Simpson, it's awesome. Like you want to see young guys that you have a lot of hope for hit the ground running and just blow your mind, and that's what this young man has done so far. He's going to have some freshman mistakes. He's going to have some slumps, but this game shows the actual potential of him. And when Cam Spencer couldn't get going and Cliff was in foul trouble and Cliff couldn't get going, Simpson stepped up, and it was a big thing. But I like this lineup. I think you'll see like Miller get in and whatnot as games require. But this lineup here, I think it makes sense. And again, some of the departure from Dean Reber, he doesn't look like he's up to the task, doesn't look like he's up to the speed. Not the case. Not the case, because he came in and played really important defense for us. Actually seemed to shut down Jackson Davis and seemed to get the offense going a little bit more than when Cliff was in there at some points. And I'm not worried about Cliff. Cliff will get there. Cliff will get going. I'm less worried about Cliff than I am encouraged that other guys stepped up, even when he's having kind of a little bit of a slump. So that was a huge thing too. And I wouldn't count out Woolfolk, Reber, all these other guys. And I'm still not giving up on Cam Spencer. I think get Spencer and Cliff going, and the sky's the limit. So there's a lot to be happy about. There's a lot to look forward to. So Thursday, we have Ohio State. That's on the road. They are ranked number 25. It's 7 p.m. on Thursday night, December 8th. Look, another tough road test. But this is Ohio State. Again, a Big Ten team. This is in our conference. We can match up with them. Let's get some of these guys going. Let's get Cam going. Let's get Cliff going. And I know it's going to be tougher on the road to get Cam going, but at some point it's got to pop. Let's get Simpson more and more involved. If he's going to play that way, let's get him involved. Just know his pulse, kind of. If he's a little bit out of control because he's young, you got to sit him a little bit. But if he's playing within himself, he can make huge things happen. He can put up a lot of points. Let's see. I'm curious to see how they come out with a healthy Paul now, what the starting lineup is, what they try to do on offense, how they try to run things. So Ohio State at 7, and then we have the big one, the rivalry, Seton Hall on Sunday at 6:30 p.m. in our building. We want revenge for last year, what happened at the Rock. So let's see what we can do. But 2 more tough tests coming up, and we're going to have to play our best games against both of them to do what we have to do and continue to progress this season. So I'm excited about it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video last night. If you haven't done so yet, subscribe. Take a millisecond right underneath me, right here. Just click the subscribe button. We are growing this channel. It's a brand new channel. Brand new discussion on Big Ten and Rutgers basketball. Even if you're an Indiana fan, you just wanted to stop by and check it out. I didn't talk much about Indiana, but I will in the future talk about other teams as well and break down their analysis. But go ahead and hit subscribe. This is a growing community. Always need more Rutgers content. Quite frankly, there's not enough out there. So help me to grow by clicking subscribe, click the like button, share the video, and I'll talk to you guys very soon after our next game. Go RU.